Hello and welcome to an emergency broadcast on all Inspired channels today. We're on Inspired, we're live on in Inspired Newsroom, we're live on Rumble, and it's great to see you all. We're waiting for a few people to jump on here. I see there's plenty of people in the live chat already. And first, let me open for everyone who's been here before or hasn't been here before with a mantra that we love to use. It's calming, it's beautiful, and it's just something that's important to us. We're healthy, wealthy, whole, and free. This is what we've always been saying: healthy, wealthy, whole, and free. Now, today we're looking at a development story, and usually before I would come out, I would do the quiet part, which is the research on what is really going on, what is happening, and get all the angles and perspectives, and then I would come on kind of with my perspective on this. Today I want to do the quiet part out loud with you because so many have been commenting on this over the last days and weeks on all of our channels, and I think it's just important. First, look at some of the facts. Let's look together at some of the facts that are emerging currently, and we're gonna use the Twitter feed of Disclosed TV, and they've been pretty good at bringing out breaking news and headlines. And let's just look at what's been transpiring. So an hour ago, they said the United States closes airspace over parts of Lake Michigan. NOTAM states national defense airspace. Update: the NOTAM has been called off over Lake Michigan. That was 43 minutes ago. 57 minutes ago, Uruguayan Air Force is investigating a sighting of flashing lights in the sky over Termas de Almiron. Sorry if I butcher that. My Spanish is not that good. But basically, there have been weird sightings over Uruguay. Moving on with the same subject here. Unidentified flying object has been detected near Rizhao in China, according to Chinese state media Global Times. Citing local maritime authorities, and they were preparing to shoot that UFO down that was over China. 18 hours ago, United States closes airspace over north central Montana. NOTAM states national defense airspace. Then another object detected over Montana. This has been then confirmed. They have shot down 18 hours ago. The Canadian Defense Minister says the downed object had unlawfully entered Canadian airspace and they shut it down. And this has been going on now for a few days. Multiple sightings from all over the world. Some unreported, some reported, some rumored. Very few pictures. The only thing we've really seen was that spy balloon last week. And so I want to run through a few scenarios that are a possibility here. What I will say is it reminds me, there's an eerie reminder of the early COVID days, very early on when we received first reports out from China. It was kind of not really in the Mockingbird mainstream media. It was in the periphery, if you will. And it's the same today as I'm checking international news agencies all over the world. There are reports, but they're not headlines yet. There is no common language yet. We had coronavirus and COVID, as there was a branding happening. That hasn't happened yet. What I will say is that, interestingly enough, a few days ago, I decided to call these UFOs, which they have, and this seems to be a common trend. It's now being called UFOs. The description that we had last week of balloon-like objects is not there anymore. This has changed. So we can look at a few articles here just to see what's being reported. For example, what's known so far? This is on Zero Hedge. What's known so far about the cylindrical and silverish gray object down over Alaska? They say, according to details from White House and Pentagon briefings on Friday, including descriptions from senior officials, here's what's known at this point. It flew at 40,000 feet, deemed a safety threat to civilian aircraft, unknown origin or ownership, cylindrical and silverish gray, roughly the size of a car, smaller than a Chinese spy balloon shot down last Saturday, object not maneuverable or propelled, shot down by U.S. F-22 with Sidewinder missiles. So this is what we know about this thing. So now let's go through a few theories here. First of all, in the big picture, what we saw in terms of weird phenomena in the sky kind of began earlier in January with the very weird UFO shaped cloud in Turkey that was filmed, right? This was a big event. It was reported all over the place. And then we had the Turkey earthquake. These things in the past have happened before, that you had weird sightings in the sky and then you had earthquakes right after. So I'm not saying these are connected, but definitely because of the timely correlation within a few short weeks, we don't know. It's worth being mentioned. We've seen the weird matrix lights over Hawaii. Literally matrix lights, like the laser lights over Hawaii, and that's kind of inexplicable too. There are theories again about measuring the Earth, some Chinese equipment, whatever, but all just theories. Then we saw the spy balloon. Then we saw weird flashes over the Montana sky last weekend. We saw videos. The videos themselves were confirmed. The flashes in the sky were confirmed. Weird looking. What wasn't confirmed was that it was in relation with the balloon that was later shot down a day later. Now these sightings have been reported, and that is, I couldn't confirm that, over 5 continents of unidentified objects. They're not calling them crafts because apparently, at least until now, what we know, they're not maneuverable. Now, here are the theories that are out there from independent thinkers, right? Independent thinkers say, well, this sure looks like Project Bluebeam. And Project Bluebeam has first gained notoriety in the mid 90s when it came out a theory, basically, or leaked, that governments in a or let's say black budget entities within government have developed a holographic program, and probably that's not even the language to use here. The technology is probably way more sophisticated, that would allow them in a joint effort to project or project multiple phenomena into the sky, including the second coming of Christ or other religious themed holograms, if you will. It would allow them to stage an alien invasion and multiple other scenarios that would basically then, in some way, shape, or form, unite the world and bring them under a unified government umbrella, a one world order, if you will, be in order to deal with whatever is going on. And basically, that would be the gateway into the new world order, which has been talked about for such a long time. Now, this could be very extensive, but the project was going to roll out in different phases, and it would start ramping up by multiple sightings all over the world. This is could be what we're seeing. Now, that's a possibility. We of course, we never, Project Bluebeam was never confirmed. It was never, it's not like there was a Freedom of Information Act request and the government actually released any documents that would confirm this. We know the technology exists, and we know this in a way more primitive way. If you look at the entertainment space, where even hologram concerts have been a thing for a while, and they've been conducted 20 years ago, and they looked exactly like the real thing. You had Elvis on stage. You had people that had passed away on stage. So we're not saying that this isn't a possibility. It's one of the theories out there. Another theory is that this is one huge distracting especially the United States currently from what has been happening and transpiring around the real Ukraine situation. We have just learned Seymour Hersh has put out a much a Substack that has gained a lot of attention all over the world, basically confirming that the United States and Norway, in a joint operation, bombed the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which they were rumored to, but now it's basically been confirmed, hasn't been denied either, by the way, by anyone, which was a huge act of war. Not just that, but it was also one of the biggest environmental catastrophes caused by two nations that under their current administrations pretend to be the biggest, environmentally friendly Green New Deal, climate change, all that stuff. So yet they have done this in a joint effort. This has come out last week. We have the classified document scandal still looming. We have the Hunter Biden laptop and everything that it implies. That was confirmed last week by Hunter Biden's attorneys, the authenticity and the ownership. So we have all these stories floating around. We have the hearings where former Twitter executives, high level executives, are being grilled, and I think this is the if you will, the prequel to the coming indictments and coming charges, because this was election interference. It's now all but clear when the Twitter executives, among many other things, but when they shut down the Hunter Biden laptop story right before the 2020 election, it has now come out in multiple polls how many people would have changed their mind had they known about the story, the authenticity. This was connected with a huge Mockingbird media campaign where you had all these intelligence operatives, and I think over 50 intelligence specialists that came out and said it was a Russian disinformation story, knowing full well that the FBI had been in possession of the laptop for much longer already. So a lot is coming out, and this could be a huge distraction campaign, but we warn against treating it like that, simply because people treated the early days of COVID just like that and said, oh, they're just ramping up fear, nothing's going to happen, don't worry about it, it's all just a big distraction, when one of the biggest stages in this war was really began during that time. And we all know what has transpired. We all know how a sleeping population wasn't aware of what was happening until it was too late. And we simply can't run the danger of doing that right now. It is stupid to do that, but fear is not a proper reaction. It was clear from the get-go, we have talked about this, that the last 3 years weren't the last, of it. Not at all. That was the beginning of a new stage. And these people are oftentimes cornered. And so they need to roll out things maybe not as prepared as they would have liked to. So what is happening? We really don't know. It could be a legitimate terrestrial or even extraterrestrial affair. We simply don't know. It could be emboldened, very powerful nations actually, as I've said before, taking their chance with a very weak perception of the United States, weaker than it's ever been before, weaker, Canadian, same, weaker than it's ever been before, as, the militaries are concerned with pronouns and, I don't know, gender inclusion of 72 genders or whatever the number currently is, and all that stuff. This perception to the world is we're weak, we're not paying attention, we're not prepared for anything. Whether it's just a perception, whether it's true, that remains to be seen. I will tell you this. I said this before, that our personal contacts in the military, and they're not low level, are basically confirming that is the atmosphere in the military, in many divisions of the military. These discussions are at the forefront, and there is a lot of cultural, political things going on rather than what the actual job of the military would be. So no, this is not just something that's rumored on social media. We have actually firsthand confirmation of that. So they themselves don't have a lot of faith and trust in their own peers at the military, the various military divisions. So that's another thing. Remember when Ronald Reagan said, he sometimes thinks about how the whole world would unite immediately, and that was in the times of the Cold War, if there was a threat from outer space. We have always affirmed and said that we believe that whenever official contact with other species, because unofficial, the contact has been here for a very long time, but when official contact will be made, we just don't believe it will be hostile. That's just because if you need hostilities, you just do it, right? You don't announce it. So there are multiple options here, and there's simply no way of knowing. We have no way of knowing whether this is a completely fabricated story. We have no way of knowing if a new surveillance technology is being introduced, whether these are actually crafts from unknown origin. We simply don't know. What I will say is, as we've said over and over again, the time for the human family to become more self-reliant and at least be prepared for a shorter period of time, we don't know what these do. Could be EMPs, could be chemical weapons, could be just surveillance. We simply don't know. And the communication is spotty, chaotic. It is weird to think that, you know, Biden hasn't come out and made a statement. I know he just tweeted 2 hours ago about some LGBTQ plus thing, which seems to be highly important at this point, but not actually, addressing the nation. um, and um, and we're just in limbo here. So I wanted to come on and basically say the choir part out loud. That's how we're thinking currently. The first reaction should be to make sure that your family is kind of in reach. You communicate, and you, just like if you had hindsight, if you could be teleported back to early 2020, what would you have done differently? Let me put it that way. If you could go to January or February of 2020, what would you have done differently? How would you have prepared, and how would you have acted differently? I think now that the world has gone through this huge phase of awakening to many truths, people have a new opportunity now, because, as I said, these fake or non-fake emergencies, they will continue to be ramped up until we're through this, and until we have actually, until we have victory over it, if you will. And we are winning, but these people have a lot of resources and possibilities to create these events if they want to steer them, use them, whichever way, shape, or form. So please make sure you got some of the necessities taken care of. If you don't have emergency food, today is a good day to do it. If you don't have an emergency plan with your family, they're locking down airspace right now, and they're locking it off for civilian aircraft, just like they started locking down people in 2020. Again, think of these things, not in a fearful way, but kind of like you prepare for a storm, right? What if there's a tornado, a hurricane, a blizzard, anything coming? What do? Well, you kind of make preparations and make sure that your immediate community family is taken care of, that you have what you need if something should happen, or if the infrastructure shouldn't work the way it should work. Um, Most importantly, take time, meditate, pray, calm down, be balanced. As these headlines and news lines come out, we need to react calmly, absolutely, and also always remember our co-creative part in all of this. These entities are not all powerful, but what they have is the ability to project their all powerfulness, the projection of all powerfulness. If you have the megaphone, then it seems that you're in charge. There could be 200,000 people chanting behind you something completely different, but you have the megaphone. You have the appearance of all powerfulness. So, kind of in conclusion, keep an eye on this. Again, project yourself back to early 2020. What would you have done differently? What other choices would you have made if you had the chance? I think now we have the chance. We should already be on the path of acting differently. The general idea is self-reliance on all levels, spiritually, physically, mentally, in our communities. That is the name of the game. That's what we need to do. We need to be self-reliant. And if you haven't started on that journey, start today. Start with something small, something that is doable for you, and then go from there. But these events show us more than ever, that if we truly want to be free, if we truly want to be actionable, and if we want to co-create a different future, we have to be self-reliant. That means not relying on government run or other infrastructure that we have no control over. That is truly what we need to pay most attention to in all of this. And of course, prayer and meditation are very, very powerful things. We are powerful co-creators, calm, level-headed, balanced. Those are all very important things. So we'll keep you updated on these stories. We'll gather the information and bring you more. Please, if you haven't yet subscribed, whether you're on Rumble, then you'll get everything kind of into one stream. If you are on YouTube, we have the Inspired Mother channel and the Inspired Newsroom. The Inspired Newsroom is a fairly new channel that we just started earlier this year, and that's kind of where we're going to keep more updates on that if you're interested in that. So if you have any information, anything new, if you have um, people in the military or anything coming through that you think we should be aware of and should share with others, feel free to send us an email or leave a comment. You can use the email info@inspiredchannel.net. And other than that, we'll be back with you shortly, and we'll continue monitoring this whole thing, and we'll continue co-creating the future that we actually want, free from all this craziness. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love you. We appreciate you. And we'll be back with you again very, very soon.